On this Saturday, I'm here with NFL expert Chad Schmuck. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing well, Rick. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I got some sad news today. Something we didn't expect when we were going to do this video. Kind of threw us for a loop. Quarterback Dwayne Haskins passed away, and someone hit him with a car in Florida. He was down there working out with Mitch and Najee and Firemouth and Claypool. It's really sad news, man. I don't even know how to react right now. How about? And yeah, I know one of the things you were going to. I know one of the things you were talking about is maybe we don't draft a guy, and Haskins is as good as any of these guys in the draft, and let him compete. Boy, I got a frog in my throat.
Yeah, that was definitely a thought.
But now, it's life. Life happens, and this happens. Very sad, and hearts go out to his family. And I'm sure the Steelers will do something nice for the family. As we usually do, So, Chad, let's talk
class organization.
Let's talk about this NFL draft this year. We're going to do some different position groups here. We're getting close. I like to wait till we're closer, let things combine happen and things fall into place with medicals and everything. And what do you think of this draft this year as a whole?
It's a solid draft. It's a deep draft. I think wide receiver is probably the top position. I think it's a little bit light on that elite player. I mean, last year you had your surefire elite player supposedly in Trevor Lawrence. Next year you're looking at kids like Will Anderson, CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young. You really don't have that surefire 10-year all-pro guy. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson's a solid player. Thibodeau's a solid player, but they're not that can't-miss guy. I find it interesting that not a lot of teams are really trying to move up to that number one pick. A lot of years, everybody's trying to get up there, trying to offer everything under the sun to get there. And this year, the Jaguars just keep saying their phone's not ringing at all. So it's a deep draft, but not the elite prospects that we're used to or we're going to see in the future.
Yeah, I do think, though, a lot of kids did go back to school last year, and it's that's why it's deeper. You have a lot of fifth-year seniors. So I like that part of it.
Definitely. Second and third round, you're going to get some good players, which you can't say every year.
Right. Well, Chad, let's talk about our top 5 quarterbacks. I know you and I talked about this off air a little bit, and we kind of came to agreement on this list, and not a lot of people will agree with this, but I like to go with who's ready to play and who's the best quarterback right now when you draft him, not future potential. That tells you anything. Who's your number 5 on our list is Matt Corral from Cincinnati. What do you think of that? Or not Matt Corral, I'm sorry, Desmond Ridder. I'm all confused with the Haskins thing. It threw me off today. Sorry.
No problem. Completely understandable. And, just start with prayers for the Haskins family, the Steelers family, and obviously the Ohio State family. Tragedy that happened way too soon. And, I just can't express how the sorrow that I feel over that. But Desmond Ridder, fifth-year guy out of Cincinnati, he's really the reason that Cincinnati was put on the map. He's the reason why they got to the playoff. He's somebody that was really their emotional leader. Great competitor. The struggles with him, really inconsistent accuracy. His footwork is a little bit all over the place. It can be great. It can be horrible. You never really know. So there's going to be a little bit of developmental opportunities for him there. He's got really good arm strength. I think he's got a really solid arm, but I just didn't see the playmaking ability when he played against top-level competition, and that's a concern for me. Also, being a fifth-year senior, it's a little bit of concern for me. Somebody that's going to need some time to develop. I think give him a year or two, and he might turn into a solid quarterback. The comparison I have for him is he's kind of a poor man's younger version of Russell Wilson. So let's not get it twisted and think he's going to be Russell Wilson of today or 5 years ago. He's very much first-year Russell Wilson, kind of tamed down a little bit. But he's got some potential, and I think if you put him in the right fit, he could be a solid NFL quarterback.
I like his height, but he is scrawny a little bit.
He's going to benefit from an NFL weight room and an NFL weight program. I don't think at Cincinnati they don't have kind of that cutting edge stuff that you'd have in an Ohio State and Alabama to Clemson. So I think give him a year in an NFL weight room, see if you can keep some weight on him, get him to play at like maybe 220, 225. I think that's going to do a lot to help him.
I think he would be a great value in the second round if you could get him in the second round. Third for sure.
Yeah, I think if Steelers pass on a quarterback in the first round, which I would, but if they do, I think this is somebody you could definitely be looking at to take your pick or maybe move up a couple of picks and grab him early to mid second round. I think that'd be an outstanding value pick, just like you said.
Next guy on our list is Sam Howell. That's a guy that I know the Steelers have shown a lot of interest in, especially Kevin Colbert. What do you think of Sam?
I love Sam Howell. I am probably higher on Sam Howell than most. I think 2 years ago when he had some NFL talent around him, he lit it up, and there was talk of him potentially being a top 10 pick in this draft. Unfortunately for him this year, not a lot of NFL ready weapons around him. He really had to improvise and do a lot of things on his own. And it caused him to struggle, and it really caused him to fall down the draft board. The big things for him is he has to improve on that decision making and work through his progressions. He loves the big play. He's gonna go for broke. He's gonna let it fly, and that's come back to bite him more times than not. If he can learn to check it down a little bit, learn to take the easy throw instead of going for the home run, hit more singles and doubles, I think that will serve him well in the NFL. He's a little bit younger, so he's gonna need probably a year. I think that's going to be the prevailing theme with all these guys is they need time. But you put him in a solid organization, give him some good playmakers, which you'd have with the Steelers. They're deep at the receiver position already. They have a good running game. That would really help him, and I think he would thrive in the Steelers system. Another kid probably early second round. You might have to move up a little bit into the late first round, move back into the first round to get him. He's not somebody that I'd really look at 20, though.
No, I agree with that. But he seems like a fiery, tough kid and a great competitor, too. Next on our list.
He's got a little bit of an attitude.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of Baker Mayfield attitude, I guess.
That's part of it that scares me. He does have a lot of Baker Mayfield in him from an attitude standpoint, and just his reliance on the big play. Tends to scramble a little bit early and hold the ball a lot like Baker did. Needs to get a little bit better with his pocket awareness, just like Baker still does. So there's a lot of merit to those two. They have a similar game, but I think in a Steelers situation, he would have more weapons and frankly better coaching than what Baker's had.
Now our next guy on the list is Matt Corral. You could flip any of these guys around. These top 4 out of 5 here, I think. But he's another tough kid, played through injury. What do you think of him?
I like Matt Corral a lot as well. And to your point real quick, yeah, I think 2 through 5, you're going to struggle to see anybody really have them in the same order. I mean, it's really going to be on personal preference and what you want. Matt Corral does have a lot of injuries. That's why he's at 3 on my list. Candidly, I don't know how that's going to hold up in the NFL. The kid took an absolute beating at Ole Miss. His heart, his toughness, that's his number one strength, but it's also a weakness. I mean, he will put his head down and get those extra yards. He's somebody that looks for contact, and that didn't always go so well in the SEC, and he missed some time. He had an ACL in the bowl game. I don't know how his body is going to hold up long-term in the NFL. That's a big concern. Also, coming out of a Lane Kiffin offense where, Lane Kiffin's an offensive genius. He puts you in a position to succeed. Coming out of that and then having to go in the NFL, that's going to be a tougher transition for him. His biggest strength is the short and intermediate passes. He can put it on a line. He can put it in a tight window. He can make every one of those throws. So that's something that he's not going to have to be taught, where a lot of these quarterbacks are struggling with accuracy issues. Doesn't always anticipate throws the best. Sometimes he'll lead somebody and they'll do great things. Other times, he just doesn't see it. and he ends up taking a hit that he doesn't need to. Getting back to the leading players, he needs to lead the receivers more. Yards after catch wasn't a huge thing for Ole Miss, and that's something that you're going to need to be successful in the NFL. The other thing is his arm strength. He has decent arm strength. He doesn't have elite arm strength. He's not somebody that's going to have a Malik Willis type arm. You can get around that. Obviously, there's been a lot of great quarterbacks that haven't had an elite arm, but that's something that they're going to have to work around with him.
Well, after Big Ben's arm,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said after Big Ben's arm strength lacking, I don't want that. I want a guy with an arm now.
He's going to have a better arm than Ben had the last couple of years, but it's just not that elite arm talent that you're seeing from other people. He's kind of a combination of Zach Wilson and a little bit of Baker Mayfield. His setup and his release, he's got a quick release like Zach does, but he's got that just toughness where I'm going to run over you to get that 4th and 1 like Baker does. So good player. If he stays healthy, I think he'll be a player in the league for 8 to 10 years at least. Somebody that I'm really intrigued by. I think somebody takes a chance on him late in the first round. Probably not somebody that I'd take at 20. Definitely I'd consider trading back a little bit and getting some extra assets and maybe looking to get him somewhere in the 25 to 32 range if I was the Steelers and interested in him.
Very interesting. And he's 6'2", 205, not bad. But here's the next guy on our list. Still got it going on with him. Malik Willis. He's a lot of experts have tied him to the Steelers. I love the kid. He's a great attitude. He's got a hell of an arm. He's athletic, but he's so raw and he played at Liberty. I just don't know. It makes me worry so much about if it was second round, I'd take him. But what are your thoughts on Malik Willis?
Malik Willis is probably arguably the most polarizing prospect in the draft. Everybody's got a different opinion on him. Most people have him number 1 on their list. We don't, for exactly the reasons that you brought up. Unquestionably, is the most physically gifted quarterback in the class. I don't think anybody can make an argument against that. Ball security is an issue for him. He forces the ball a lot. He relies on his athleticism, really tries to make a bunch of plays. But some of that could be he played at Liberty. Definitely not a ton of NFL talent lining up around you at Liberty. They did not do a good job of really getting him easy completions. He had to work for a lot of his completions in college. So there were some mistakes there from him just rolling the dice and taking chances. Again, because of the level of competition, he was able to really rely on his athleticism and kind of out-athlete people, hold the ball, and make plays. NFL setting, he's probably not going to be able to do that as much. Kid's got a cannon, best arm in the draft. He can throw it a mile, but he does not have touch. So anything where he's got to put touch on the ball, those short intermediate throws, he's letting them fly. I'm thinking of the John Madden reference with Brett Favre, boom, 100 miles an hour. That's Malik Willis every time he throws the ball. So you're going to have to spend time on him.
Hate to use this reference, but he's a lot like Haskins in a lot of ways.
He is, from an arm talent perspective, from a legs perspective, he can move. He can get outside the pocket. He's really better outside the pocket. When he's improvising and making plays, he's better. I think he'll benefit from the Steelers' offense where it's just a lot of quick passes and there's not a ton of decision making for him. I think that would help him. But my comparison for him is Steve McNair. Steve McNair came into the Titans. He really didn't play the first 2 years, and they really taught him how to be an NFL quarterback. That's what you're going to have to do with Malik Willis. So the decision is, do you want to take him at 20? Do you want to potentially trade assets to move up to take him early to have him sit on the bench for 2 years? Maybe you do. I don't know. That's the struggle for me. I wouldn't. I think he's got by far the highest ceiling, but he's also got the lowest floor. So he's very much a boomer bust. He could be great. He could be out of the league in 3 years. You just don't know. A lot of it's going to depend on his work ethic, how much effort he puts in.
And that's every quarterback these days.
It really is, but for him.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What were you going to say?
No, go ahead.
For him, he really has to put in the time to really learn the touch on the ball as well as his footwork. His footwork is all over the place. He needs to learn 3-step drop, 5-step drop, 7-step drop. He needs to learn all those things. And that's going to be the difference between being great and, being the next, what could he have been type player. So it's a tough decision. I wouldn't want to make it if I was picking in this draft.
And I already gave it away here a little bit with this my quick touch here. But our number one quarterback is Kenny Pickett. A lot of Steeler fans will love this. A Pitt guy, local guy. I personally think it's who the Steelers have wanted all along. I could be wrong. I think he's a leader. I think he's tough. And I think he's the best quarterback in this draft. What do you think?
I agree. I think Kenny Pickett is the most surefire quarterback in this draft. Definitely has the highest floor. Definitely a lot to be excited about with Kenny Pickett. He's a strong leader. Has all those intangibles to be a solid quarterback in the NFL. I liken him a lot to a Ryan Tannehill. I don't think he's going to go out and win 14 games for you, but he's not going to lose games for you. He's going to make the right decisions. He's going to put you in a position to succeed. But he's going to need some weapons around him. He would benefit from having, Najee in the backfield and, receivers like Claypool. He would benefit from those things, a solid defense. He's going to give you a chance to win every week. He does have some things he needs to clean up on. He doesn't always pick up the blitz right away. Tends to kind of fall away on throws a little bit, throws off his back foot a little bit. And he stares down receivers more than I'd like to see from him. But when you're looking at a team like Pitt, you don't have a lot of NFL talent around him. So I think it was more he was trying to depend on, his best player and thought he could put the ball in a window and let him succeed rather than, it was really a bad habit. So I think he's the one that could potentially come in and play day one if needed. But the thing on him is he's going to turn 24 before the start of the NFL season. So how much more improvement does he really have? That's going to be the debate that you're going to have. But if you want a quarterback to come in and play right away, Kenny Pickett is your guy. He's really the only guy in this draft that I think can do that. I have a first-round grade on him. I don't think he gets to 20.
No.
I think you'd have to move up to take him. Probably cost you at least a 2, maybe next year's 1. That's a high price. I don't know if I do that, but I think he is the only day one NFL ready quarterback in this draft, which is why we have him at number 1.
A lot of people have him tied to Carolina. I know they seem to like him, but who knows what's going to happen? It's going to be so much fun.
I can't wait. I think this draft, there's so many unknowns. And I think if you look at the mock drafts, there's going to be a lot of people wrong and a lot of just, shock, which makes for great viewing and, must-see TV.
Well, Chad, I appreciate you joining me. We'll do some more of these, talk about top fives at some more positions the Steelers may draft, and hope you have a good day. I'm sure you'll be dealing with this, the news of Haskins and all that today, but hearts and prayers. There's family, as we said, but can't wait for this draft. Thank you, Chad.
Thanks, Rick. Have a great day.